Here we go. Okay, so I want to welcome you. We've had an incredible response, and I see other neighbors here. Paul, welcome, and lots of old friends, lots of people who've already been working with us. And we're recording this, so please note if you want to share anything, this will be recorded and shared with other students. And let me see, I'm going to pull up our screen. Here we go. So I honestly am so excited that you are all here, and I'm very excited to be sharing this. And you'll see why. And we're going to be doing a little bit of an exercise too. And I do want to welcome you from all over the world. If you want to share in the chat where you're from as I continue, then I think I know we've got people from Israel, you, Stu, and France, and New Zealand, our team, and Australia, and England. I see my sister is here. How wonderful. So it just feels like a wonderful family gathering. And I hope that you're going to take away some valuable perspectives from today. And so here we are, from generational patterns that might bind you and keep you stuck to the soul currents that carry you forth. And the goal is to shift from those patterns that sometimes have drowned us to coming from the truth of who we really are. So I was sharing with my team just now that I am so excited because there's so much. I've got so much to share with you that I've got to keep it contained and just keep one foot after the other and just keep on track here. But as I say, this is an immense topic. It is, for all of you, the journey of a lifetime. Let me see if and I'm just thrilled to be able to share this. So it can be a very scary subject. And for decades, I only used to do this work with private clients. And then I expanded to only within my inner circle. And now I am so moved that so many of you have responded to the call. I think we've got about 400 that responded, which has blown me away. And I'm very excited. So let me see my screen. But first, a celebration. And those of you who've already worked with me know that we always love to start with celebrations. But this is a very big one for us with a Chinese background or Oriental Asian background. And I knew it was Chinese New Year starting yesterday. I had no idea until last night that it is the year of the yin wood snake, and this program is all about the wood energy. So talk about synchronicity, and also synchronous. This program is about renewal, where we're bringing back and connecting with who we are versus all the programming, transformation and growth. And a year of harmony, love, and wisdom, which is the snake energy, which is more of a fire energy. So the fire energy of the snake plus the wood energy of this particular cycle is super auspicious. I think the planets must have all been aligned for this to happen today. As I say, I had no idea. And also, I was born in the year of the snake, so it's a super exciting year for me. And any snake people out there, I don't know if you're a snake person or if you know you are, but it's a celebration for all of us. So just a little kind of recap about what the wood energy is. Normally, and I was telling my team, people come into my programs through the fire element, which is all about natural facial rejuvenation. And people are, I've always assumed that people are very interested in working with the face. Our face is our, window to the world. And so that's been the most interesting for people. And then we've done the water element, which is the birth, going to deep, deep parts, connecting with why we come here. And the wood energy is about starting to break through the old programming. And so that's where we are today. But I've always insisted that people either take the fire element or the water element first before we go into the wood, because I wanted them to have access to the basic principles. But because of the new brain science research, I'm able to invite you, and a lot of you are new here, to join us for the wood element today, because I have so many people, and I know a lot of you are here today, that are already super skilled in these principles, and you're going to be holding a wonderful container as we explore these principles. So as you explore going deeper for yourself, you're also going to be naturally holding a container for others. And here's my big question. Do we really have to heal the family tree? And if so, why? Let me see if I can get it there. Let's find myself. So this is the book that I told you about if you signed up. And it's very well thumbed. And every decade or so, I would find it. It would pop up. It only popped up recently, a couple of months ago, in one of my boxes that I was unpacking, because we've only moved here in the last 2 years. And the reason that it changed my life was because it was about a guy, Dr. Kenneth McCall, who was a surgeon in China. He grew up in a missionary family, and he trained in medicine in England. And then during World War II, he was back in China, and he was working as a doctor. And the reason it resonated with me when my patient shared this book with me back in 1984 was because I was so bonded and connected to my grandfather, who was in World War II in Hong Kong. And he was also in a Japanese prisoner of war camp, like Dr. McCall was. Dr. McCall was in China, and my grandfather was in Hong Kong. And I was curious to see what they went through and how they got through, given the traumas that were going on in both areas. Hong Kong, which was a minor Holocaust, people don't talk about it because they don't know about it, and in China, where there was a lot of very traumatic stuff going on. And Dr. McCall talks about these amazing stories that he experienced, and one of them was about a person in a village who had gone crazy, and none of the medicine was working, none of the herbal medicine was working. And what happened was the villagers actually stoned this person and cleared him of the evil spirits, and he became completely normal. So that really touched Dr. McCall, and he went back to England and he trained as a psychiatrist. And the reason it changed my life was because, yes, I grew up in Hong Kong. Yes, I was aware of all the unseen currents and the hungry ghosts, but I never thought about how it could affect us personally. And he wrote about, for example, babies, lost babies, miscarriages. He didn't know about lost twins back then in the womb, but I'm sure he would have included that. But miscarriages, abortions, adoptions, and how when they were honored, now this was back in 1984, and acknowledged that often all kinds of strange diagnoses and craziness would just resolve and disappear like miracles. So from then on, I took it more seriously. I even knew a young woman, and I know my sister's on the call, and you will know her, Anne, who came to Hong Kong as a missionary, and she, through prayer, she was able to, she went into the walled city in Hong Kong, which was a den. It's been turned into a park now, but in the old days, it was the area of the triads and the gangs and the opium dens, heroin, prostitution, a very, very scary, dark area. And this young woman, Jackie, went in with prayer and was able to help these young men get off opium and heroin with no withdrawal symptoms. So there are some miracles here. I'm not promising miracles today, but just I'm kind of stretching your capacity that as we unlock from those old patterns through whatever works for us in the present moment, that miracles can happen that rewrite the patterns in the brain. I'm just going to say that again. Miracles that rewrite the patterns in the brain so we don't have to go digging through old trauma. So I'm going to come back to my PowerPoint to keep me on track because I could tell a lot more stories here. So, do we really have to heal the family tree? It's what Dr. McCall was doing with prayer. There are other ways, and let's see what you say by the end of this call. Let me see. And why would we need to heal the family tree? So, yeah, I'll be curious to see what you think by the end. And I've told you a little bit about how it changed my trajectory, especially in relation to those lost babies, twin loss, miscarriage, abortion, adoption. I had one woman in particular, so many people, but one woman, I was asking if she ever played. This was, maybe 15 years ago. Did she play? Because adults maybe laugh 4 times a day and children, or 15 times a day, and children laugh 400 times a day. And she said, no, she never laughed. Yeah. And it was part of her prescription. I was saying, you've got to lighten up. Yes, you've gone through a lot of serious stuff, and you're going to keep recreating the old trauma. And let's see if you can do little tiny things, little glimmers to try and shift your brain. And what we discovered was she was carrying the loss of her mother's miscarriage. She was an older woman, so this was in the days when nobody grieved. You just shut up and that baby got buried or flushed down the toilet. And she was carrying her mother's grief. It was that powerful that it had stopped her from laughing. And then the coffin story, this was a young man that came to visit me probably about 12, 15 years ago. And he was a performer, he still is. And we do drawings of the soul, so that we're asking the soul to show what the stories are that can get transformed. And he was doing very well, but every time he went out on stage, it was very traumatic for him. And what we discovered was, when we did a drawing of the soul, that he put himself in a coffin. He put himself in a coffin in the drawing, in the ancestral location. There are different places in this particular exercise that we do. And it was like, what are you doing in this coffin? And what we discovered was it was his grandmother that had died in childbirth, that somehow he was very connected to. And she was the one in the coffin. And so was the baby. So I got an email from him last year, recently, and he's doing fantastically. He's helping people all over the world through who he is, and he sent me photos of his wonderful family. So once we unlock from these patterns, and thank you, Dr. McCall, we could be liberated and be free to be who we are. So hopefully this inspires you. And as you know, if you've read any of my emails, there are two tracks. Yeah, one is delving into the richness and the fertile soil of the family. We're shifting our perspective from, digging all through the trauma. We know there's trauma often, but what about the gifts? What about the support from them once we've untangled those roots? So I want to help you springboard into the eternal calling of your soul and not feel knocked out or drained or worried. So as I say, it's the soil, letting the soil of the ancestors nourish your soul and support you. So that's my goal today. Okay, and I hope that you're on board with this. So again, just giving you a visual, yeah, delving into the richness and fertile soil of the family patterns, discovering the gifts, sensing the support to help you springboard into the eternal calling of your soul, letting the soil nourish the soul. So some of you may be visual, which is why I've got some pictures. Others may be more listening. Just listen to my voice and see if that frequency lands in you, reminding you of what's possible. So fast forward 1 year from 1984 to 1985, and here I am now in China. I've taken in Dr. McCall's book, and I am doing postgraduate work in a hospital. And I had been teaching for a couple of years already at the International College of Oriental Medicine. And I came with so many questions to ask the doctors. And the young Chinese students would be hovering around me listening because they never dared ask any questions to the venerable doctors. So they wanted to hear, because I wasn't scared of these doctors, they wanted to hear what I had to ask and what the answers would be. But what was surprising was that what they were really the most fascinated about was my work. And some of you, I think, on the call are acupuncturists. Yeah. I don't know if you're familiar with stems and branches, but that was part of the training at the college, the International College of Oriental Medicine in England. And stems and branches, let's see if I got it. Oh, so here I am. 1985 postgraduate work. This is here to remind me in case I get too excited with all my stories. But they wanted to know, these doctors, about stems and branches. The translation is roots and branches. So here we are talking about the family tree, and these Chinese wanted to know. They would sit with me and insist that I did their chart, looking at the energies of when they were born and the influences of the elements and the energies that were around. So they lost that during the Cultural Revolution. So here I am, what am I? I can't remember how, I'm in my late 20s, sitting there with these venerable, experienced Chinese doctors doing their charts for them, which was pretty funny. But they lost this training, and there was a hunger for it. That was back in 1985. It had been buried. They were not allowed to dance and sing during the Cultural Revolution. They had to be very serious. So this roots and branches, stems and branches, was a study of the unseen currents. And this was their way of kind of acknowledging the influence of the unquiet spirits, the hungry ghosts, that we were aware of growing up in Hong Kong, which did not go through exactly the same type of Cultural Revolution. We had the results of the Cultural Revolution. But this is what, I learned, that this is how they prescribed crazy people who came into the hospital where I was working. They had to sit there and read Mao's Little Red Book. And they had to sit in circles and be told how bad they were and to be confronted. That was their prescription. And then, as you can see, Dr. McCall's prescription was to clear out the evil spirits that he had learned about during World War II in China through prayer. And very powerful prayer. And then my grandfather's prescription, because he wasn't that religious, was during World War II. What he learned that got him through was through music and humor. And that's how he inspired me when I was a little girl, that kept me going when I would sit there. And I don't know, I've got my sister here. I can't see you here, Anne. I don't know where you are, but I used to live with my grandparents in England periodically from school, and he would tell all these stories about World War II and how he would be playing the piano and various things. But the way I was so bonded with him that he kept me going through his humor, his laughter. He played the piano. I would sing out of tune. He would play it back perfectly. So there was this incredible synergy that we had, and I was still carrying his pain. Yep. So his humor kept me connected to him, but I was still so bonded that I was carrying his pain and what he went through during World War II, and also through his cousins during World War II that got sent to Auschwitz. So there were these different lineages going on that I didn't know about up here, but I did know here. And I bet if you're listening to this, that you have that empathic sense too of different things going on, or you wouldn't be here, I'm willing to bet. So let's see. So thank goodness for my grandfather. You know, he gave me a resource that I really, really was helpful. It was like this light that was shining through my darkness. There would be these rays of sunshine where I knew there was something different that was bigger than the darkness that I was carrying. So again, to remind us, there are two tracks: the richness and fertile soil of the family patterns. I don't want you to come follow with me into the darkness, but I know some of you may have your own, and I want to honor that. And I want to help you to springboard into the eternal calling of your soul and who you are. With proven strategies. That's what's so exciting about the latest brain science in the last few years, that we actually don't have to go digging and doing endless sessions and constellations, even though I have tons of respect for that. But there are these ways that can help us make those shifts in a more loving, compassionate, even fun way. So let me see. So we're going to just tap into a little bit of the brain science right now. Okay, so to have you just tap into your intuition. And I want you just to take a few moments to slow down. I think I kind of jumped in with a bang and with the celebration of Chinese New Year and all these things. So let's just slow down. And if you are watching the replay, and feel free, you know, even if you're here live, to watch it as often as you need. To pause when something touches your curiosity. Because even though I may want you to get certain things, and you're going to find me repeating a lot of stuff over and over because I'm being so fierce, something completely different might be right for you in your brain and your curiosity. So ask yourself for an intuition anytime something touches your curiosity, and then write it down. Because when we're in the present moment, we don't remember these things. So write it down and then review it later. You might be amazed. That way you're going to take in the gifts that I have to share with you in a way that's much more meaningful to you and not what I think you should be doing. Okay? So we're going to do a little mini experience that has been said to be actually just as effective as 20 minutes of meditation every day, just to bring our brain networks into balance. And that way, I'm hoping that you're going to be able to take in what I'm sharing with you and just kind of letting it drop into your cells. Okay, actually, my little cat just gave a big yawn there, so here's a clue what we're doing. So we're first going to do 3 good yawns and stretches. And I'm going to come out of share. So just so that I can see some good yawns and stretches. And I know those of you already in our community know how to do this really well. And really slow, slow, slow stretches. Slow yawns. And kind of reveling. And if you can't yawn because there's an old brain injury or something, just imagine you're yawning, or take just some deep breaths and kind of breathe into little kind of areas that you don't normally connect with in your body. I'm just going to shift my let me see if I can shift. No, I can't. No. I'm trying to shift something so that people can come in automatically, but I don't know, Shelley, if it's working for you, but it's not working for me. Oh well. So just noticing what's happening and notice any shift in mental state or mood. Now, there's tons of research on this. Yawns help you to become aware of mental stress and to shift it and to become more relaxed. And all animals yawn and stretch. Our cats are always yawning and stretching every time they change position. And every time they do it, I do it too. And so it reminds me, which is really fun and keeps me on track. And yawning is so important. Here is a tip for you if you're a craniosacral therapist or a body worker. Babies start yawning at 12 weeks in the womb. And here's a study. There are over 70 studies, serious research. Here's research on how yawning switches the default mode network to the attention network by activating the cerebrospinal fluid flow. So this is a way that you can help your clients, remind them to yawn at home, and they are continuing your wonderful work by helping the cranial sacral fluids flow, keep flowing. Okay, but they've even done research on this. So maybe Inga, you're always really good at reminding me to yawn and stretch if you think we're coming to a place that needs a break. Okay, Inga? So let me see. So for me, I always felt something was missing. Yeah, I felt a big hole inside me. Later on, after I did the Castellino birth work, I thought it was because I had a twin that died in the womb and left. But it was a double-sized hole. And later I realized it was my grandmother's hole. And I was very bonded with her. This was my maternal grandmother. And actually, no, it was my paternal, it was my dad's. It was the grandfather I was bonded to was my mum's side. And you're going to think I'm being crazy. And the grandmother's hole that I was bonded with her was on my dad's side. And she was also a twin. And I had a lot of worry as a child, anxiety. I was always scared. I talked a little bit about that dark hole, the darkness that, my grandfather's humor, the light would shine through, but I would always revert back to that darkness and scared fear, which I have completely forgotten about now. Until I was writing, I think it was last night I remembered, it's like, wow, I was always scared. I was actually terrified. I don't know if you resonate with this at all. But there is a great quote about worry. I don't know if you've heard it. I want to remind you, but at least 80% of what we worry about doesn't come true. Yeah, so it works. So please remember that. It works. And actually, everything I worried about didn't come true, especially one particular thing that I was very worried about. I always used to worry that I would lose my parents in a car accident. So I went to a convent when I was 5 years old in Japan, and they taught me that I had to pray, otherwise terrible things would happen. Well, this is what I took on. But I never really knew why I was so worried that I would lose my parents in a car accident or a fire. And I was worried about losing my family. And I nearly lost my other little sister, who was our middle sister, because she was in a coma for 19 days when I was 4. She was 2. So there was stuff to worry about. But why was I so worried? And then I discovered years later that my grandmother's whole was the loss of her parents when she was 2. So it was my great-grandparents who died in a car accident in the late 1800s. And fortunately, I never lost my parents in a car accident, but I was worrying as if I was going to lose my parents, and it was my grandmother that lost her parents. So what was I doing? Was I still carrying her trauma patterns? I must have been, because where else did I get it from? Yeah. So these are just, a few examples to give you little clues for you to maybe delve into the richness and find the gifts from this. And of course, worrying as a child was not a gift, but the gift is now. The gifts and the healing that's happened because of this is now. So the family myth was that the 4 orphans were adopted by their godparents and all was well. I always thought that, but it's not true. It's a lie. It was a lie, a family lie. And a wonderful neighbor that lives just across from me here is from Lancashire, which is where my grandmother came from. And she is researching the family tree, and she dug up a census form, and found out that the children were in a boarding house when my grandmother was 5. And she sent me the link, and she sent me the screenshot, and just said, "Oh, this is so sad." And I looked at it, and I was able to look at it and go, wow, I had no idea that they were just orphans adopted out to a boarding house. So that's the old pattern. It's not true. It's not, well, it was true back then, but it's not true anymore. But there were undercurrents and misunderstandings and fights. And I longed to try and help the family, and nothing ever did work. No matter how good, how smart, how caring I tried to be. There were the broken connections, broken communications, invisible blocks. Now I understand it, but I thought something must be terribly wrong with me. It was my fault. I didn't fit. And I was actually secretly sure that I was adopted because I didn't fit. I didn't resonate with this family at all. Was that my grandmother's story in the boarding house that was always on tiptoes on her best behavior because she was boarded out? Now I understand it. But it was crazy making it at the time. Now I understand it. And it's like, wow, all right. And I still want that loving connection. That's what I longed for with my family friends. I want a space where I don't have to worry about being judged or cast out because I didn't fit into the accepted family mold or the boarding house mold. Am I alone in this? Let me have a look. Anybody else resonate with, your own types of stories that kept you stuck in your life? Anyone? Few of you? Okay, all right. Well, thanks for letting me know. Yeah. And now here I am today. So let's see what's next. Oh, thank you, Susan. You totally resonate. We've got the same name, huh? Yeah. So, I'm telling you this, I don't want to keep you suffering though. And I know you've had your own suffering, but I'm telling you this to inspire you that, I get it. I was where a lot of you have been or are, and there's hope. There's hope. All right, let's see what we have next. So glad to know that some of you resonate. So I bet you're an empath. I'm saying, are you an empath? But I bet you are, or you wouldn't even be here. Yep. And you wouldn't be so aware of family currents, or even resonating with what we're carrying. And just to spell this out, and this is what Dr. McCall talked about, that the sensitive kids are the ones who carry the family trauma patterns. Often it's the kids who resonated if there was a miscarriage in the family or an abortion in the family, and the children, or they had a lost twin, and the child is the one who's trying to hold a space for that particular soul that left. Okay, so often we think there's something wrong with us, as I shared. We think that, why do we suffer like this and others don't? Well, if you're here, as I say, there's very, very special skills and gifts that you will have learned because of what you went through and what happened in the family, that other people may not even be interested in or aware of. But these are skills that the planet needs right now. People need your skills, and so do your clients. All right. So this is kind of why is this important to even spend time on this particular issue? And I love this. He sums it up. This is an English psychologist. So given the evolutionary development of the human brain over hundreds of millions of years, and given the genetic templates all of us have inherited from generations of ancestors, given the conditioning of our attachment experiences and in our family of origin, optimal or less than optimal, and given the norms and expectations of our culture and our society, who we are and how we cope is not our fault. Okay, so no blame here, given all these hundreds of millions of years. And what is exciting is, however, given neuroplasticity, and especially given the power of our choices of self-directed neuroplasticity, who we are and how we cope becomes our responsibility. So I'm just kind of pausing for you to take that in. We do not have to be at the effect of all the swirling currents and undercurrents and riptides that are going on planet Earth, and especially perhaps in and around our families, that we have options that are very exciting. So I'm excited. So this is about the power of your brain networks. When your brain patterns change, everything changes. So this is a top-down approach. And I'm very aware, and being a body worker also myself, that, for decades we've been taught the excitement, of that it's bottom up, that we need to honor the messages in the body and what's happening in the body. And that's enough, but actually it's not. And the research has proven this. And when we bring in this top-down approach, and there's tons of studies, and you'll be seeing this if you decide to join us in our course, that have proven that when you actually can change the synapses, the networks in the brain, that all kinds of miracles can happen from the top, where the brain is actually conducting and in charge of the body. So this may be a paradigm shift for you. It was for me. It took me a while to get it, but that is one of the reasons I can even invite you to join us today, is because of this, my experience with this new research. So again, I'm excited. So here, this is an example of genetic changes from PTSD, trauma in the family. And these slides come from Mark Waldman, who teaches trauma-centered neurocoaching and has done tons of research into brain network theory, and is kind enough to share this with us. And I have his permission. So it's like if you come from a lot of family trauma, so genetic trauma, yep, you might not recognize abusive people. You might not recognize when things are safe or not. I didn't. I would put myself in ridiculous situations like hitchhiking to India, through Iran and the bottom of and Pakistan, as a young English girl, crazy. But I thought I was fearless. I wasn't. I was just not recognizing what safety was. Little release of stress hormones when threatened, less responsive to future traumatic events. And yawning, this is just a simple tool for you, increases cortisol, lowers brain temperature, and reduces stress. That's just one simple brain network technique. And I'm just kind of giving you little tastes because, I don't have that much time today, and we are going to be offering a brain bootcamp. I'm giving you a little taste of what's possible in terms of the brain network theory that can actually change our paradigm, of healing, of trauma healing. So let's see,
Susan, may I just, sorry to interrupt, it's Inga here.
Yeah.
We have a problem by the looks of it with the recording and the plan with Zoom. So if we maybe could do a little yawn session, and in that yawn session, we can turn the recording off and on again because it's too long, it says somehow. So
That's very
does it
strange.
make sense?
Yeah, let's see.
And it might be great to catch up on the new network science as well.
All right, so I'm going to, it doesn't tell me that there's a problem, but it tells you, does it?
It's in the chat, yeah.
It's in the chat that there's a problem with the recording?
It's too long, it says, for the plan.
Whoa. That's very strange. I have a big plan today, so.
Are you guys using Otter? I don't think that's you. I think that's somebody else's, their note-taking that didn't have enough space, not you.
Oh,
Okay, thank you.
Yours is still recording.
Okay,
good.
okay. All right. Thank you. And thank you, Inga. So let's do a yawn and stretch too. And I'm going to resume. Am I recording? Can you tell if I'm still recording?
Yes, you are.
Yes, it looks like it's still recording to me.
Thank goodness for some techie people here, because I'm not. Great, thank you. So the reason I showed this brain science slide is because moral wounds run deep, okay? And the moral wounds are especially, I don't know about you, but I've worked with a lot of people from, Vietnam or younger around here. It's Iraq, it's Afghanistan. Moral wounds. Yeah, why are we doing this? Why are we giving our lives? Why are we losing our friends? So when that happens, these moral wounds, then it's talking about the default mode network, where the trauma gets held in the default mode network, which you'll find out is the imagination network, and it can get held there and contribute to PTSD. So we want to calm down the amygdala. We want to get the brain networks flowing again instead of trapped in the rumination of the default mode network. So these are strange words, strange terms, but hopefully, if you decide to join us, you're going to become very fluent in them. Seems to be like a new language and confusing at first, but actually it's the most fun, rewarding, uplifting language that I've ever learned in terms of my scientific background, my scientific world. So let's see, I think there's one more slide here. So here's research from 2022 about infant attachment, separation, and stress with Panksepp. And Panksepp is a researcher he's famous. I spoke to a retired psychiatrist recently, and Stu, you know him, about Panksepp. We both knew of Panksepp. I think he might have even known Panksepp. And Panksepp is famous for research with tickling a rat and the rat laughs. And the reason I'm even bringing this up is because, play is a natural state, and it's very healing. And Panksepp did lots of research on this infant attachment, separation and stress, and that cortisol disrupts the amygdala in infancy. Yeah? And we can stay stuck there and say, we're disrupted, we're traumatized. And we need to honor that there's always room for repair, and that empathic care restores and maintains it. So the more we're able to keep shifting into the other networks, and I'll show a little bit about that, the more the amygdala can transform. Okay, so sadness, grief, and loss can be healed and with empathic care. Okay, so this, as I say, is a 2022 study, just to give you a little taste of those studies. Let me see. Okay, sorry, I'm just checking the waiting room more people keep popping in, so that's lovely. So this is an example of the networks that I'm talking about. It's a very cute little diagram that's very useful. Those of you in my trainings will remember I keep showing this diagram over and over again. So it's the brain networks, and when you bring these networks into balance through coming to the present, you're able to overwrite old memory traces, old patterns. And that doesn't just go for childhood patterns or recent patterns, but it goes for old family patterns as well, which is very cool. My favorite network is this blue here, the salience network or the social network. And when that's in balance, because you've done your yawns and your stretches and inner values and a few other things, the networks flow, and this is your wisdom network. This is where I ask you for an insight after you've done a yawn and a stretch. That deep insights can come up from that will often be more true than your ruminating brain, which is the orange-pink, which is the imagination network, or even the doing network, which is the central executive network, which is the thinking and the doing. So again, giving you a little taste. I don't want to confuse you. Just let this run over you. And I'm just sharing it because I want you to know that there is very, very solid research in the last few years. That's very exciting. And here, this is like the flow, okay, of energy when you're in balance, where it starts with, from example, you wake up in the morning and you're excited and you're curious, and then that's the E, the green, and then you go to the motivation. Okay, what am I going to do today? I watch my cats do this all the time. They will go and sniff the same blade of grass or the same tree every single day as if it's completely brand new and fascinating. That's what we often did as kids. I didn't because I was so numb and traumatized, but happy little kids do it. And then we go to the imagination network, which is, ooh, what can I dream up? Daydream. So imagination network is wonderful for daydreaming. We need to be able to daydream. Kids need to be able to daydream more. And when we get stuck in trauma, it just goes round and round in circles. We end up ruminating too much. But when we're normally in a happy, healthy day, it's imagination. We dream, what are we going to do? What's fun? And then we go into the salience network, the wisdom network of, okay, this is what feels right for me right now. Now there's a rightness. And then we can execute it by moving into the purple, which is the doing network. And that star in the middle is being aware, coming into an awareness of being aware. And that can change everything the more you practice that. An awareness of being aware. So that in a little tiny nutshell is a little bit about a taste of brain network theory. Okay, so to keep going, there's a lot of writing here because I didn't want to miss anything out, but this new perspective could add years to your life. This is why it's so important to pay attention, okay? Because I don't know, some of you, I'm sure you may have heard of or know about the study done by Kaiser in the 1990s called the ACEs study, Adverse Childhood Experiences. And if you had a high score of trauma in childhood, the conclusion was, having studied people for 3 years, born, in the early part of the century up till I think the 60s, it could shave 20 years off your life. And that's just with childhood trauma. So my question is, how many years could it shave off your life if you're impacted not just by your own childhood traumas, but by multiple ancestral traumas as well? And if you don't resolve or let go of the ancient patterns, it could affect your health, your relationships, and your life. And to be honest, I always thought I was going to die. It was either my twin pattern where my twin died, or it was my grandmother's parents dying, or my grandfather. It was like there was death in my field, and I was born into a war where people were being murdered. So if I had continued on that trajectory, I would be dead now. And I know I'm laughing, but, it was quite serious many times. But, if you or your clients are carrying these shadows, invisible blocks that stop you from living life to the fullest, or you have clients that may be confusing the pain and suffering of others or the ancestors as if it's their own. And Dr. McCall did a lot of research on this, a lot of research. It's a waste of their life, their energy, their health, their future. And if this is you I'm talking to, is it a waste of your life, your energy, your health, your future? It certainly was a waste of mine. So as I say, it's not some fantasy, highfalutin idea that we can shift these patterns. It's serious, and it is why you'll find I sometimes get quite fierce, very fierce in this particular class, this wood element module, because it is serious. And I do want to warn you, if I get fierce, it's because I really, really want you to get this new paradigm, this new perspective of what's possible. And often it takes fierceness to cut through the swirling currents and fog layers, of the ancestral layers. It actually does take fierceness and power. So also, this could be relevant to you with your clients, if they don't hold sessions and they keep coming back and they make some great progress. And then they come back again because they've been swallowed, dragged down into the family patterns again, and they don't even know, and they work for years, or you might have worked for years trying to clear your own patterns, and you keep getting swallowed up. That's what happened to me, but not anymore. So would it be interesting to you to have greater health, more happiness, and a deeper sense of purpose? Or to help your clients with this? You may have this sense, but what about clients who come in with their own confusions? Sometimes it can be quite life-changing for them. And Claire, I know you were telling us a story earlier today, which I'll ask you to share in your practice that you do. So remind me, okay? So it can be very scary to change, for shifts to happen and to grow out of your comfort zone and the current teachings that tell us that we have to dig into every trauma to get free and clear. It's not true that we have to dig into every trauma. And a little tip from Dr. McCall, he actually writes about, and I think it only took me several times to reread his book, that some people actually are addicted to carrying the family patterns. And if they get cleared, they'll just pull in something else or pull in more. And I'm going to come out of this just for a little bit to kind of highlight the seriousness of this. So back to Dr. McCall. He talks about when he sees that people are addicted, so they might clear old patterns and then they get back into, the other realms, or when I did my Barbara Brennan healing science training 30 years ago, we spent a year working with the astral realms. She had it written in her book and they made her take it out because it was too scary. But some people live in those realms and they're addicted to those realms. And just like Jackie in Hong Kong, the young missionary, she used prayer to get them out of the addiction to those realms. Dr. McCall uses prayer and, in his case, being English, either, I don't even remember now, the Anglican Church Eucharist services, but he also would recommend the 12-step program. So isn't that interesting? Back in the early 80s or 70s when he was practicing, he actually had people do what you do for Alcoholics Anonymous. He would have people do this to get out of their addiction to being so connected with the ancestors or the unseen realms, the hungry ghosts, that is the world that they were more comfortable in than living in the present, in the fun place where we are right now. So just being aware of that, if you come across people like that they need AA, and I don't even know, maybe there is an AA going on for people addicted to those realms. I've never heard of it except through Dr. McCall. So anyway, back to whatever it is that I wanted to share with you next. Come on. Okay.
A quick question, Susan.
Yeah.
Can I just ask a quick question?
Yes.
Speak about the hungry ghosts.
Hold on. Let me find you. Realms. Put your hand up, and then I can find you. I can't see you.
It's Anne Claire.
Yeah. Is your hand? Did you put your hand up?
Yeah, I'm waving.
You're waving?
Your virtual hand, Anne Claire.
Yeah, put your virtual hand up.
Oh. Oh.
Oh, bye, Jason. Thanks for coming.
Oh, I don't know how to do that.
It'll say raise hand on your bottom Zoom.
I don't know.
Does it have a raise hand?
You know, if she just talks, we can see her. Just talk.
Yeah,
all right,
just talk.
Keep talking and I'll find you.
So, I was just wondering, in terms of you talking about the neuroscience and the hungry realms, and are you going to suggest that through what we're going to learn, we don't have to do the 12 steps, that this is part of the program of what you're suggesting also?
I see.
Help.
Great question. I think if you, well, I'll speak for the group that we've been working with. I don't see people in this group. So Kelly, yeah. In terms of length, I don't know because of the questions, but there will be a replay. So make sure that you can watch the replay, okay? Because I don't want to cut people off if they do have questions. And this is such an important topic. So Anne-Claire, you will know if people are addicted, you may be able to bring them back and they will keep falling off the wagon again, or they keep getting drawn, and at some point it's a choice for them. Do they want to keep living in that realm, or do they want to come and have fun in the present and connect with who they truly are, as opposed to carrying the energies of the ancestors? Okay. Does that help you, Anne-Claire? Did I lose you? Yeah, I can't see you at all. Interesting. Okay, so we're going to...
Yes, so someone just asked a question that was quite pertinent. That says, I thought this was about TCM and healing the ancestors. Will you be addressing that in this presentation?
This is not about TCM, but it is about making the shifts, using these skills of brain network science, neuroscience, to use with TCM or whatever modality you use. It's bringing this particular skill in. So, yeah. And mostly, I'm going to be curious what you say at the very end, okay? But I'm not talking about Chinese medicine and performing acupuncture. Definitely not. I want this to be much more useful for all of you. All right. So again, I'm back to being fierce. So let's see. This is more about, and thanks, that's a great question. This is about shifting from including all the modality, whatever modality you're doing, and including this perspective. And if you're an acupuncturist, Ted Kapchuk, who trained my husband, has done some incredible research on this and the effect of placebo, for example, and why this working with the brain networks is so important in whatever modality you use. So hopefully that helps. All right. So why can I talk about this? Because I've been through my own journey, yeah, and I've done multiple trainings, including Chinese medicine, 8 years of that. And I was just getting more and more stuck and defended. And I was stuck in those fog layers, toxic lies, family and generational trauma patterns. And then some light would come in for a while, like my grandfather, because there always is something to learn. And then I would think, okay, this is it. And then I'd settle back into those fog layers. And my brain would keep me trapped in the old patterns to keep me safe. And what is safety really? It could be about just keeping us stuck. Yeah, we make a big deal about safety, but is it about keeping us stuck? So in this particular element, we're going to be challenging those old patterns. And I've got the grr because this is my wood element mode. Because yes, it's important to be safe, and it's also important to grow out of the seed of the water element. So what changed for me, it was when I realized I didn't need to live like this and keep stuck on the roller coaster of all these external controls and manipulations. And that's why I'm so lucky to be sharing this with you. In the olden days, I would have stayed in hiding. I have a wonderful husband, which I never believed was possible. I only thought I would last 2 years with him 38 years ago. And I do live in an amazing community with friends and animals. And some of you are on this call today, which is wonderful. And it is very magical. So I so want you to help you clear the fog layers so that your soul purpose from preconception and birth can emerge more easily and fully. To stop identifying with the undercurrents and the riptides of family, even global trauma. And when you access your soul purpose, you're living in a different paradigm. And in Chinese medicine, whoever asked about TCM, this is coming from pre-heaven patterns where everything is in balance and harmony. And then the soul makes the decision. This is from the stems and branches background. The soul makes the decision and the trigrams shift. And the whole cycle of being on planet Earth starts where we get pulled into the currents on the planet. And if we can tap into that pre-heaven balance of who we are, then it is much easier for us to roll with the currents. So this is what we want, so that your energetic DNA family patterns can't control you anymore. I know what it's like because I've been through it. Yeah, and I'm still here. I'm here to tell my story. So here's my family tree. Don't laugh, all right? But I do want you to laugh a little bit just because it shouldn't be that heavy. But this family tree, when I looked at it, and I just took it for granted, and then different layers opened up for me and different stories emerged, and I will show you This is my baby family tree. I don't know if any of you have a family tree like this, but this is mine in my baby book. And the curiosity was that on my dad, it's all in my dad's writing. He wrote it when I was a baby, so there I am. And on the left side, so this is my father's, it all looks fairly normal, except there was a hole at the bottom left. I've got my great-grandfather, and then next to him there was nobody. In fact, I wrote that in my baby handwriting years later when I found out what her name really was. And it was my great-grandfather who was a doctor. And his young wife died of a fever and he failed to save her. So she got obliterated from the family tree. So that was that side. On the other side, we've got my mom's side. And Anne, Sister Anne, I wonder if you've seen this tree before. Again, written by my dad. And on this far right bottom, again, the great-grandparents, there are two people here, and this is a lie. Their names are not those names. And why did my mom give my dad the wrong names? What was she hiding? What was the family secret that she was hiding that left a very shaky foundation? Because she couldn't even share with my father, who she was married to, who these people, what their real names were. So it's just an example of, you're going to find all kinds of treasures and patterns that may emerge after this call. They're still emerging for me. That's pretty thrilling and exciting, because now I look at it like, wow, what's the gift? And this picture that you will all have seen, here we are. We've got the symbol of the motor car of my grandmother's parents that were killed in the motor car accident at the late 1800s. We've got my great-grandmother, very mystical, who died young of a broken heart, we think. We've got my grandmother, who, according to my mom, she changed the name. We've got my French major on the far right. I don't know if you can see my cursor, who changed his name during World War II. We've got my Franciscan monk that was killed by the Catholic Church for teaching love. So it's like, now I look at them and there's so much pride, I guess I'll call it. Pride, and there's all these conflicting currents in my Scottish family babies. And it's like, wow, here's the richness, and here's the foundation, and here's the power. But it wasn't like that before. And this is, some of you have seen this. This popped up a couple of months ago on my computer out of the blue. And I shared it with the twin class, because this is our wedding, and I was taking on twinning with my husband and his family currents. And I don't know if he's around, if he's going to come and visit me.
I'm
Jake,
here.
are you there? Okay. It's like he has this great story that, let me see. Are you coming to join me live, or are you going to stay?
Yeah, I'm here.
No, in person?
Oh, you want me to come in the room?
Yeah, why not?
All right.
So he has this funny story, and because of his family being German, I was carrying the undercurrents of his family, and I was British. My family lived in England now. Oh, there's our cat too.
Hi, everybody.
So, do you remember that story? When he first met my English family and their English friends, because they'd now moved back to England, you introduced yourself as being Canadian. No, they thought you were American.
To the Admiral.
Oh, the
The
Admiral.
retired Admiral.
Oh, yeah. They thought you were American, and they were a little bit suspicious. We're not sure about Americans, because who won the war anyway? You could see all these ancient patterns coming up. And then you said you were Canadian. And they went, oh, we love Canadians. You could see their faces completely change. This is an example of the instant bias of family patterns. And then you said,
But really, I'm a German.
so, and then immediately you saw their faces kind of frown. They're trying to look polite, but it was like, hang on a second, we've just been at war. So that was 1985.
Typical devious German.
In 1984. So it was only 40 years after World War II. So it shows how old we are. Yeah? But what was happening was that these currents were colliding, not just Julian's family, but all my family currents. And people came to our wedding from all over the world to celebrate us. And I couldn't take it in. And I remember you saying it felt like you had a gun to your head.
Yeah, well, I did at one point, yeah.
So
Shotgun wedding.
So here we are. What is it, 38 years later?
Yeah.
And we're still here. I'm still alive. I didn't think I would last more than 2 years. This is sounding awfully dramatic, but we're still here. Oh, there's another Canadian. French, German, French, English, Irish, and Welsh. Lillian, great. All right, join the club then. Great. And so, Lillian, you're going to understand the undercurrents, yep, that can all be colliding. Jessica, thank you. So here we are, and last week, we were brave enough to watch our wedding video.
Scary.
Was it?
No.
No, and we could never watch it before. And I know, Anne, you were there, and we had wonderful friends that came and family members from all over, including my great aunt, who was from the sister of the French major who had to change his name. And I couldn't take it in. I was in a bubble, kind of numb, and it's like people wanted to give us well wishes and hug us and kiss us. I couldn't take it in back then, but now, did you enjoy watching it?
Yeah, it's fun. With you. Yeah.
So I was able to watch it and receive and feel the well wishes. I could feel the support of my parents. I could feel their love. I could feel the family. I could feel you, Anne, and all the babies and grandchildren and friends' kids. And it was so joyful. And I really got the shift that I can now allow that support through my family, through the lineage. And instead of it all being entangled and twisted and traumatized, it's just strong. How about you?
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah. Yeah, it was wonderful. In fact, it was the best wedding I've ever been to.
The only one.
At the time, yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you very much.
Sure.
Say
Thank
hi
you.
to Stu. Have you seen Stu?
I think Stu's left.
Okay, we have
If you're still there, Stu, hi.
Okay.
Hello to everybody. It's
Yeah, from
great
all
to
over.
have you.
Yeah, and great to share. And you're going to see the stories that you're going to be enjoying, appreciating, and transforming. And hopefully we are an example. What is it, 38 years later?
Yeah, I think so. I wouldn't know the exact number.
Yes, just like a guy. So like a guy. All right.
Goodbye, everybody.
Thanks. Thanks for joining us. Can you take their little cat with you? Yes, she's taking our cat. There's our cat. She's our little twin cat, and she insisted on coming to join to hold space for you. Okay, so let's see what we've got next. So hopefully this is inspiring you, that it's not just all talk and theory, that we have some stories, and I figured my story was probably the most fun for me to tell. But here, back to 2005, getting back on track, I taught a class with a family constellation co-facilitator that I've been working with on behalf of clients ever since, for over 20 years. And it was called Life Connections Family Matters. And I had this light bulb moment, another light bulb moment after the Healing the Family Tree story, where I saw how tangled, twisted, distorted the roots of our family trees can get, or can be. And I watched what can happen as we untangle them. Just like my own family tree, I didn't actually have to go in and dig up and struggle and be agonized over everybody's story, my relationship has changed. Okay? Can we untangle our relationship to those distorted, untangled, traumatized roots? And absolutely, I mean, I couldn't be saying this more strongly. So again, I could tell you so many stories about why I was struggling and anxious and always worrying, always health issues, all kinds of things that kept me stuck and safe. And when I realized that doing all this digging was not helping me get what I longed for, I had to take a long, hard look at what the programming was that was keeping me small and staying safe. And it can seem like a very big risk to shift paradigms, but it's so worth it. So worth it. Okay, but it can be very scary. It does take commitment. This is what I'm being fierce about. It totally takes commitment to shift old habits and beliefs. And it also takes giving yourself permission to actually let go of your loyalty and your love to stay connected with family pain. Yep. And that perhaps you don't need to do that anymore. And in fact, you need to let go of that in order to transform the old generational patterns that keep pulling you back into the fog layers and for you to step into the magic of your own core light. It does take community, yep, of others who are making the same shifts. Otherwise, your imagination network and your amygdala, your limbic system will keep dragging you back because you don't have proof. But the latest research shows that the greatest transformation happens in groups and community and not meditating away for hours all by yourself. That's not enough. For those of you who have got your birth background, when I first did my first training with womb process workshop, it was called Birth Process or Womb Surround, back in 1995, 96. I remember at conception being like this. I described it as being with our stubborn dog, our Airedale, Tim, and that I didn't want to come here onto planet Earth. It was too scary. The currents were just too intense, and I was only coming because I had to. And I just had that memory just a few days ago as I was working with this of like, I don't feel I'm fighting any currents anymore. I feel like I'm flowing. I can feel the family flow behind me. From the stems and branches connection, just that flow where everything's in harmony. I mean, not everything, I've had leaks here and the technology was corrupted and the links and all kinds of, water leaks and just all kinds of things, yes, but the difference is there's a flow, which before I always felt blocked. And I can feel the family support now in a way that's, let's see, this is kind of more, there's a tingle, which is the dopamine. There's an excitement of like, yes. And I'm able to enjoy my family in a way that I couldn't when they were still alive. But anyway, it's better than keeping them buried. So let me get back to the share, and then we're going to do an exercise. Yeah, that little embryo was bracing, really bracing. So I always had that sense of bracing in my system, like resisting the next onslaught. Not there anymore. And I do so want this for you. Why not, huh? Why not? So I struggled for years. It wasn't enough. And now so many celebrations, it's hard to keep track of the magic in my life. And in fact, even what I'm wearing here today, a neighbor turned up 2 weeks ago, walked over, gave me a little box with this in it, and said, he's a former lieutenant colonel, he said, we've decided that you are the educator of the year for 2024. And I'm looking at him, he's an educator, his wife's an educator, there are educators on each corner of our little community. But they're all retired. So I was the only educator of the year that's still still working. But the magic is that people are seeing me. I've come out of hiding. People are getting what I'm doing. They're thanking me. I'm getting gifts. Everyone's getting gifts around here. There's something very magical. It's not just them, it's because I've shifted. I've shifted. Before, my neighbors didn't know me and I was always in hiding. And here, out of the blue, he made this himself. So thank you, Jimmy. I'm really touched. So again, another celebration. I hope you're not getting too bored of all these celebrations. But to be Educator of the Year and I'm the only educator is pretty funny. But he has a great sense of humor. So let's see. We're going to do a little exercise, which is quite a huge exercise. So I hope you're ready for it. But first, I want to thank Mark Waldman for the inspiration and his dedication for his research on brain network theory and to help us shift from the trauma focus of the impaired brain networks to the natural curiosity and play focus of the balanced brain networks. And that has been so helpful to me to stop ruminating and cycling, to help people to stop ruminating and cycling. Also, always a big thank you to Dr. Porges. He's been an inspiration for the last 25 years, and his research on safety and how important safety is. There he is, big smile. He's like a cuddly teddy bear. And the best safety cues come from our face. The muscles of our face help us to be safe, and the importance of face-to-face connection. We can't do a face-to-face exercise here because there are so many of you, and I haven't figured out how to work with so many. But we will be, if you decide you want to join us, we will be doing lots of face-to-face connection and dyads that you get to practice. Shifting from the trauma patterns, honoring them, not denying them, and shifting into what I call the joy patterns. So thank you, Dr. Porges, for being the original inspiration. And I have a system that I've been teaching for many years, but usually only to my private clients or to advanced students. And I'd like to share part of it with you today, and it's very special. And it's called Finding Your Core Essence Word or Phrase. Now, some of you who are on the call have done this with us many times, yeah? And we're going to be doing it with the bigger perspective of the ancestral patterns. Okay, so here we go. And I'm just going to walk you through it first, then we'll do it. Then we'll come back and we'll do a yawn and stretch, and then we'll do it again. Okay, so I'm going to ask you to ask your intuition. Yep. You ready? Anybody not ready? Okay.
I wonder, Susan, if you want to say something to what you are offering and what you're gonna do, because there seems to be a few people that need to go.
Okay.
So,
and then we'll do this exercise after.
Just quickly and
that's a very, very good idea. Okay, so, and of course there is the replay. So we're going to come back to this, okay, because this is how to shift your brain network on a daily basis that can run your life. Let me see if I can find a good point, Inga. Let me see. Stop share. There we go. I'm just trying to figure out how to get to it that fast. I think I can. Oops. Can you see my screen yet?
no.
Okay. So I'm going to jump to this and then we'll come back because I want to show you the importance of shifting the memory reconsolidation process to give you a little taste again. But here, I'll come back to you. Okay. So we do have a special program for you, but I definitely want to, if you're able to stay, or you can watch the replay, to do the exercise with you. So it's called Core Light Magic, as you know, break through toxic lies and generational trauma into the brilliance of your own core light. And wood, everything's about wood this year, fascinating to me. So leadership, empowerment and growth, where we have fun together, busting through old limiting programs into the brilliance of your own core light. It used to be for advanced students only. Birth dance has always been a prerequisite, but not today. So we'll be working with wind, and you'll get this in your email, the powerful energy of the wood element as a spearhead to challenge old insidious patterns, family patterns, religious patterns, global patterns that may have been keeping you playing small until now. I can go back into this later, but it really is about coming out of hiding, breaking through the old patterns of the distorted blueprint, being brave enough to be seen and to share, expansion and growth, leadership and teaching, calling forth truth and justice, and following your soul's calling. When it gets held back or suppressed, it becomes rage, resentment, and frustration, powerlessness. When it's clear and flowing, it becomes the powerful energy of the warrior and the truth teller. That's the wood energy, and especially righteous anger if necessary. So calling this forth, this energy, safely and confidently is crucial during these current times. And again, we're inviting you to separate from the ancestral trauma, build on the fertile and rich soil of the gifts of the ancestors, and that can lead to the dancing and singing of the soul. We start with Brain Bootcamp, which is next week on the 6th, Thursday the 6th, to get you up to speed with the rest of the group. So this is for newbies, and any of you who are already in our program who want to join us, you're very welcome to get a refresher. And you'll be learning biodynamic neurocoaching principles. And that's with a nod to the biodynamic farmers, Dr. James Jealous, the osteopath, and also Franklin Sills with the biodynamic craniosacral. So these are biodynamic principles, which are the foundational skills for the new program and for making shifts. And we will be working with how to balance your brain. So we'll be focusing on that next Thursday. So the whole program, it's very experiential. There are practice sessions in each module and drawings from the soul, and you do not have to be able to draw. And there are 2 live bonus sessions, transforming ancestral money trauma, which some of you have asked for, and making friends with change, transitions, and death, which seems to be up a lot at the moment. Everything's recorded, if you have to miss anything, but we absolutely encourage you to join us for practice time, because that face-to-face time is important, as Dr. Porges says, and Mark Waldman, neural resonance and harmonization that happens. And many people say, I can do this myself, but can you get there faster on your own? Research shows that you don't. And what would it be worth to you to shift from the old worries and anxieties and family trauma patterns to enjoy your life in the present moment, to get a more solid foundation? And what about if you have compassion fatigue? I know many of people I've worked with have had major compassion fatigue. And it does take a shift in beliefs and mindset. And healing trauma does not have to be traumatic. You do not have to keep processing and reprocessing, which is what I was doing. So when we're witnessed, we grow. The research shows doing things on your own is not enough, and meditation on your own is not as powerful as with others. So the course normally would be 1,500 with 12 modules, including the 2 bonuses and face-to-face practice time. But I want to test and see how it will work to invite new people into our inner community to join those who are already training with me. It is a test for me and for our small group currently. It is a risk, and I think that you'd be up to the test or you wouldn't be here. So I'm offering a special savings until next week, which is February the 5th. So tuition will go back up to $1,500, and right now it's $797 until February the 5th. And please note, tuition is non-refundable for this 6-month course. Inga, if you would like to post a link in the chat, or Shelley, if you're able to, and you will be getting an email to, if you're interested in joining us, we'd love to have you. There's the link, but it's a very long one. The system is very grounded and spiritual and honors the ancient past, and yet brings us into the present. Yeah. So I'm going to jump and then we'll do the exercise at the end. But how about, I've got a few amazing women who've gone through this training with me. They're just like you were. They've learned the principles that I'll be sharing. And it's the first time I'll be offering this wood element course to people who have not done other courses in the cycle. And we're hoping to get people up to speed faster than ever before. So Shelley, you want to share a little?
Sure.
Let me find you. Yeah. Since I have you live, let me see. There we go.
Yes. Hi, everyone. I'm so glad to be with you. And I can just say that the trainings that I've done with Susan, and, I've done the birth dance and the twin module and also the core light magic. And it has really virtually changed my life. I used to be small, invisible. This is how I came in as a twin. I was the beta twin, and I was invisible in my family and throughout my young adulthood life. And what I found was that understanding more of how the ancestral information and the cultural lies and sometimes religious things that didn't quite jive, that I was living in the shadows and really not allowing myself to shine or realize that I could use my voice and really address things. So working with clients, it's changed everything. It's changed everything for me. And I feel like I'm empowered to be who I am and what I'm meant to do and not be held back by these lies that are not untrue. There was a lot of death and loss and grief in my family. All of the twins in my maternal line died at birth or before birth. And we were the first set of twins that actually made it out. And so I carried a lot of loss and grief throughout my life. And I had a near-death experience about 7 years ago as well, and really could track now how all of those things added up and impacted me, imprinted me. And now breaking through that has been just a life-changing experience, and stepping more into my leadership. And I welcome you to join us, because this is a really incredible training that will allow you to not only help yourself but also your clients that you're working with. So yay. It's incredible.
Thank you, Shelley. Yeah, I think there's a lot of twin energy in this class. I think I have a hunch, don't you? Yeah. Or you wouldn't, even if you didn't have the twin energy, you may not be so connected and aware of family currents. So that's the gift of twin energy. Fantastic, Shelley. Thank you. And it's been an absolute pleasure having you. And you are a craniosacral, biodynamic craniosacral teacher, and you're the one that sponsored me for the BCTA community. So thank you for your trust in this work. Yeah. All right, great. We've got Inga next. Inga, are you up for sharing a little bit? You don't have to because I've got you. Let me see. Where are you? There's Inga. Inga is a midwife in New Zealand, and you are on the board. Is it for the Pacific Craniosacral Association?
Yes, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, hi everyone. I'm really a biodynamic craniosacral therapist these days for quite some time, but I always will be a midwife as well, and that has brought me really with that skill into the work of biodynamic work, but also I think has transformed me coming here because I'm working with Susan for quite a few years now, and has been an amazing experience because it's all about, for me, of facilitating a safe space and just being in a way, in the background, but holding space for people to go through their own processes in their natural way. And yeah, as we all know, we need time and support, all of us, and in the moments where it's really crucial, and then big things can happen. And really I was thinking about it, and core like magic, I think the work has changed me deep in my core again. And I'm very thankful for that because it has lifted a huge weight of carrying old stories around. And as you probably can hear, I'm having a German background in me. And, there's a lot of trauma that I picked up on and I carried. And yeah, I really feel like I've found the gifts in my ancestries, after such a long time of just seeing so many things and mysteries and hiding and yeah, really toxically, kind of kept secrets that, yeah, we still all know in the end, and to a degree cannot make sense of until we find out. And the differentiating of those processes and just dealing with what you need to deal with, and then seeing really, for me, it feels like, I'm always coming from a point now of thinking of my ancestors just from a really loving point and seeing them as they all had their stories. There was reason why they were, but they always would have wanted me or any other of the ancestral lineage to have a better life and to be in a better place. And there might be things that held them back, or was their story of not being resolved, but where I just feel so grateful to kind of have come to that place of being able to hold both, the really traumatic stories that happened to them, but also being able to feel the love that comes through that. And yeah, the part of the core light magic was, yeah, certainly a major one in that for me, because yeah, it is those fog layers that come in, as Susan so wonderful explains, where we just get really confused. And even though we think we've come such a long way already, we're therapists, we have done a lot of work on us, but when those fog layers of mystery and secrets come in and float in, it becomes really confusing. And to have help and ways of exploring that, and the community of exploring that, has been incredibly helpful. So these groups, yeah, have been my big support network, and we've all become friends too. So it's been fabulous. And only encourage you to come on and be part of the, the community.
Yeah, thank you, Inga, for sharing that. And also, I remember, I'm so proud of you because, when we talk about teaching or sharing your gifts and your light, you would hide, wouldn't you? You would look at me, like glower at me. It's like, and look, you were sharing some wonderful brain stuff. Was it in Australia recently? You're out there, aren't you? And Yeah.
Yeah, I've come out of hiding, come out of my little turtle shell.
And
So
did you enjoy
yeah,
it?
it's good. Oh, it's fantastic. It's so exciting, and I was, nervous on a call like this to talk maybe potentially, and I always am still, but at the same time there's excitement with it. And yeah, I rather feel like it would be I wouldn't live my sole purpose if I wouldn't share my gifts with people. So, and that comes through every day in my work, as well, that I feel so, that has brought another layer, but I want to do the good work, and I need to shine my light for that. It doesn't it doesn't happen if I'm hiding in a dark corner or in my little shell. So yeah,
Yeah,
it's been
you're
fun. It's
unstoppable.
about joy. My teaching was called Joy, Yawning, and Other Tools of Resilience, and that might just give away a lot of what we actually really do and what this will be about. It's a lot of joy. Doesn't sound that much maybe when we talked about the trauma and generational stuff, but that's where we make good new pathways in the talking and neural language connection.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. And just I want you to know, who are watching this, that Inga is part of our team and Shelley is part of our team. And it's been extraordinary having you all. And I know I get tremendous feedback from our students, loving having you on the team. So we're going to thank you, Inga. I'm going to bring in Anne Claire. You ready, Anne Claire? Want to share? Before you, I know it's midnight probably in France. It's like, it's pretty late for you.
I was not looking at the time. What do I want to say?
Yeah, because you're so eloquent. You were sharing about what you do with your clients just earlier today.
Yeah, so yeah, I think there's two things. One, for me personally, being able to, it's like we've been carrying all this baggage with us and not realizing, and being able to name what the baggage is and the resistance of why I can't let go of that baggage. Being able to name that and identify how huge all the resistance is, that makes sense. I think there's so much confusion and feeling lost, and then having a pathway, a clarity, and that was part of the core essence exercise that we were doing, I'm going to do presumably after this, and being able to come back into that alignment of the core essence, and then being able to differentiate between what's actually who I am and what actually is not me, and that's the baggage, and also what I'm carrying from the past. I'm feeling all nervous. I think that's been really huge, and being able to give permission to let go of it, because for me, a big part of who I was and my identity was wrapped up in all of the baggage, all of the limitations, all of the stories, and being able to start to clarify who I am and what's not me, but what I've grown with, and that I don't actually have to carry on identifying myself with that part of me that grew with all this baggage, and that I can let go of it. And I think that was a big thing, and to be able to start creating space in order for myself to start feeling, I guess we're talking about the joy, but just feeling space to be who I am, and a settling. And I think in that space of creating settling in myself, it was where I started to grow up, and that I could start to begin to take responsibility for my life and have choice. Whereas before I was always in the survival, always trying to keep my head above water or not being able to. And so just being able to shift into a place where I can start seeing patterns, start seeing things, and having more of an awareness of the world around me and being able to name what's going on and being able to say, no, I don't want to take that on board anymore. That's not who I am. And I don't want to be like that. I guess for me, I'm a bit of an activist. So in that ability to be able to shine brighter and allow my light to come through even stronger and allow myself to be more joyful and allowing others to see that, and that also giving them permission that that's also possible to be in that way, that for me is our way forward.
Mm. Well done. And Claire, your bandwidth is pretty low right now, but I just want to say I'm so proud of you because you're teaching these principles to kids in school, aren't you? Which is amazing. You tell us, I think you posted on Facebook a little interview we did with you sharing with kids, and it took you 6 months, but you just got it out there and you're coming out more and more. Fantastic. All right. We'll let you go because I see your bandwidth is so low, but yeah, thank you. So back to, here's Inga. We all need our courage to come out of hiding and show how beautiful women are. And I'd say men too. So Anne-Claire is part of our team, and Anne-Claire has been leading a wonderful group, I hear, in Europe. So if you are in Europe and want to join us, we might be able to persuade Anne-Claire to continue to do these incredible practice sessions on a better time zone than 12 o'clock Pacific. So let's see, I think we're, I know what, I'll go through these and then we'll come back and do the exercise at the end. And if you have to leave and watch the replay, excuse me, I will, suggest that if you watch the replay, you just go to the very end and you just catch the exercise, okay? But here are the warnings if you decide, and remember, I am very fierce in this wood element mode. I'm not all touchy-feely like I am in the more yin modes. But if you don't, here are the mistakes. If you don't spend enough time on the material, if you don't engage with the community and the team, it makes a huge difference. The ones who do the best are the ones who engage with us. We're creating a container, but you got to show up. Yep. You can't, it's very hard to passively make shifts with the thick fog layers of the ancestors. Sometimes it can be way too thick. So, not taking responsibility, we cannot do it for you. You have to show up, engage, and let us know where you are and how you're doing. Here, there's a lot to this writing, but I guess I need to say it. So it's an advanced program. Yeah, I'm only able to offer it to this greater community because of how well our current students have got the skills. Yay, if you're a current student and you're here, pat yourself on the back and on your heart and just good job, because you have been doing so well, and our team. It does take commitment and responsibility to do this work. It is non-refundable because I expect once you sign up that you're committing. Yep. And if stuff comes up, then rather than get knocked about by it, that you're going to face it, confront it, and move through it. Yep. And we will support you. You don't have to do this by yourself, but I want you to find that place inside that goes, I want this and I can do this. Yeah, I know I can do this with support. You need to be able to access Zoom or watch the recordings online, so they will be in the Core Light Magic portal. You need to be able to do your practice, of course, and it may seem like a sacrifice at first to do this because there have been so many extreme currents, riptides under toes. You might find that because it's ancestral energies, or there's, that there are energies that it may almost seem like they don't want you to thrive or come from your own core essence. It may seem like there's a tussle going on, but they don't have to stop you, okay? But it comes from that inner resolve first. So even if you've been stuck in old patterns, worry, anxiety, depression, pain, where I was, you need to be able to consider the possibility that your brain is designed to be joyful, playful, and curious. I've had to turn people away from joining our courses over the years because they said, I don't believe joy is possible. I can't even consider it. My childhood was so awful or whatever. I completely respect that. I understand that, and this may not be the program for you yet. Okay, there may be other things you need to do first. But if you're willing to, able to consider the possibility that your brain is designed to be joyful, playful, and curious. That's how you're designed. You are not designed to live in struggle. Okay, I hope you take that in. So these are the key criteria. And there are incredible modalities out there. A lot, just beware, are very dated and they are not validated by the latest research. And learning this skill will help you with everything else you do, whether it's acupuncture, body work, business coaching, design, art, painting, whatever it is. This underpins everything else you do, and it's proven. There are tons of recent studies, and I'll be sharing some of them with you because I have permission. So here's Shelley again. Here's the myth. How you're born and the suffering of your family has to affect you for the rest of your life. It's not possible for me because, and look at Shelley, unstoppable. And Shelley, you're moving out into your coaching and growing, and you've just got a place to offer classes. So yeah, not stopping you. That old twin pattern isn't stopping you. You're shining. It's the gift, isn't it? I see you nodding. So it does take practice, though. And Shelley is an example of being totally committed. I mean, I don't know how long it takes, 11 years to become a biodynamic craniosacral therapist teacher. You've been doing that for 20 years. Yep. I knew you 25 years ago. Yep. During the Castellino, I assisted Castellino training. But it does take practice, and Shelley, you're an example of you've done it, and you're flying. So who's this for? I've got several categories actually of who it's for. If you want to grow into leadership and be seen, we've got Shelley and Claire and Inga all have grown into leadership even more that I've witnessed, and I know we have others in our community that I would love to have you share, but I'm not sure we got the time, but it would be lovely perhaps at the end. So if you want to grow in leadership and be seen, to share your true core essence with your community, working with groups, including families, babies, and kids. You want to stop living other people's lives. Shelley and Inga and Anne-Claire have shared this too. I'm not living my parents' lives. I'm not trying to make up for lost family members or trying to fix that break in continuity anymore. I don't feel broken or that there was brokenness all around me anymore. Phew. How about you? Would you like that too? It's just so liberating. This is for you if you're ready to take responsibility and to stop any blame for what happened in the past, whether your past or other people's pasts. I've had so many people share with me, it's because of my attachment trauma or my disorganized this, or is it really? And do you have to keep carrying that? Do you have to stay stuck in that? No more excuses, as to why your life isn't working. So, and it's also for people who feel they've been in hiding for years, perhaps a lifetime, who haven't been seen, haven't had a voice, or were carrying the twin the lost twin who didn't have a voice, and yet are longing to share their light and their gifts, who've perhaps been living behind their mask and it's not their fault. So it's for people who start to build a potency to show up in this work, and what happens if you show up more in your work, being of service in your community. What happens if there's more of you? Often we've learned to serve others at the expense of ourselves, and we give too much or care too much, and it can be exhausting. Now, this isn't part of the rest of the world. Seems to be part of this community. So caring, so loving, so giving, so sensitive, and I hear this all the time, so it must be this particular community. But this is your turn for you. It's like the healers. If you're tired of being in hiding, you're aware of the double bind push-pull of wanting to be more visible and yet needing to hide. Inga, that's where you were, huh? Healers don't put themselves out there enough. You have incredible skills. If you're listening to this, if you're still here, you have incredible skills. And the world needs this. Your clients, your community need you, more of you. So I just see Betty. Hi, Betty. Welcome. Wow, lovely to see you. This is about honoring who you are and sharing who you are, but from that place of your core essence, as opposed to being at the whim of everybody else's issues. So I want to support you.
Could I share something with you?
Is this Betty?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, let me stop the share and see if I can find you.
Unfortunately, I'm in a hospital bed right now.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I just had surgery and I'm going home pretty soon.
Oh,
And 2 nights ago, I had signed up for this, and I was going through my family trauma, so I'm right in there with everybody.
oh,
And I've done a lot of incredible and sharing. In fact, I'm having fun with the girls here, the nurses. We're going through on this, yeah. And so, so I'm doing sharing on my own individual level, but I've been caught in my next marriage. I've been looking back at my life and just in all the traumas that I've been through, the family and all the things we're talking about. And even though I was a high school teacher, very successful for students for 32 years, underneath there was that level of wanting to be more for me. And what we went through in the cranial sacral therapy training with Mary Louise and Christopher, that was beautiful. But what stopped it was COVID. People had money from that, and they called up and said, I want what did they say? I want a treasure chest of healing. You're going to give me that. And I said, no, that's not how it works. But anyway, that's what I kept getting. So I just stopped. I just stopped it all. But I'm 78. But there's still, I'd like to go to that next level, regardless of my age. And this is why I'm in a hospital bed. I kept doing too much to heal myself, even within my next marriage, which is beautiful.
which is Peter, is that right?
Yes. He just went out.
You and Peter were at our natural facial rejuvenation in 2015.
Yeah.
I remember you, young and beautiful, 78, still young and beautiful. So Betty, yeah, absolutely. You as that teacher, as that healer, it's time for you to flourish and thrive with your core essence. Yeah, and heal yourself.
Without ruining my physical body.
Exactly. You're a great example. Oh, thank you for showing up. Oh, well, we'll love to see you and to share and lavish you and support you in being the wonderful shining light that you are. Yeah.
I'll look a little better.
Well, hopefully you'll be able to stay on if you're on your hospital bed and do just get started with the program by doing this exercise, because
I will.
And share it with Peter too.
Oh, I'm leaving the hospital today. I'm on my way to healing. I want to heal totally.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, we'll see you next week then. Look forward.
Right.
Thank you for sharing, Betty. I really appreciate that. Wow. Yeah, so it's these exhausted healers. So Betty is putting herself out there and sharing. So thank you so much. I also see Peggy here, who is assisting one of our natural facial rejuvenation with our beloved Mary Louise and Christopher. So let me see, what do we have? So yeah, so this is for you if you want to connect more with your own natural core essence, radiate that to others, unfettered by the past. I love that word. No matter how many confusing lineages, and I know some of you on the call have very confusing lineages, but hey, when we honor that and get the richness of it, it can be very, very liberating. So here are some myths, okay? I've covered some more, but here's a myth that emotional pain gets stored in the physical body. I still see people talking about that it needs to get processed out. It is not true. Okay, I don't know if this liberates you. I've had people over the years that say, oh my gosh, I can't tell you how freeing this is. The body does not keep the score. I know I've had a lot of pushback on this. It's an outdated concept. It's held in the brain if we keep repeating and re-traumatizing and, you know, going over old traumas over and over again. And as we shift the brain, and I'll go back to those old slides that I skipped, you'll see it's held in the brain, shift the synapses in the brain, and physical body can shift. I'm no longer bracing anymore, whereas it didn't matter how much work I did. I was bracing from the embryo stage, not anymore. We have to feel all our emotions in order to heal. I would say maybe out there in the world, people who are, you know, in denial, but in our community, some of us are totally over-processed, as Betty was sharing. It's like taking on everybody's stuff as that high school teacher or school teacher. You probably should have got the medal that I was given. Anyway, so yeah, if we're over processed, and I keep coming across people who can't do one more thing, they don't want to be healing the rest of the planet. They've already taken on everybody's stuff already. So no, we don't have to do that. So these are myths that hopefully will be liberating for you. Often people are accused of being in denial. For our community, it's usually the opposite. Huh? I don't know if you resonate with this. So don't get trapped. Yeah, some people have come to me and said, you know, I just can't take on one more thing of trying to heal what's happening in the world. And there are lots of incredibly loving, strong, more yang people who are fully capable of being out there. But some of the more sensitive souls, with the twin pattern, for example, it's too much. So don't get trapped and run by the misleading messages that a traumatized brain network will send to the body. Okay. Often the erroneous messages and scripts come from preconception. So the messages that your body might be getting to seize up, tighten up, block, may not be yours. But we think they are, so we spend a lot of time trying to focus on them. No. Clear this first. And Anne-Claire, you might have forgotten what you were sharing earlier and with your low bandwidth, but you said when you lead with your clients now all the time, get them into their core essence or inner value, we'll call it too, before you get them on the table. It's very different. I might have you share that later, but here's what's true. It is not a quick fix or a single insight or just, you know, a simple healing the family tree masterclass today. I want to kind of open you up to possibilities today and give you clues and some tips of what to do. But if you want to join us to, you know, continue, you're very welcome. It did take me time to believe it was truly possible. I kept thinking, no, I've done everything, been there, done that. It's not possible for me. Yeah, it's possible for others, but not for me. So it does take time. It takes commitment. Yeah, we talked about that. So the transformation usually happens in the longer programs where you get to practice retraining your brain to invite an increased capacity to receive the goodies and magic that life has to offer. I had to, like, you know, I was sharing with my husband, I had to increase my capacity as I unlocked the family patterns and the colliding currents, where I can look at our wedding video and go, oh my gosh, and I can feel the hugs and I can hug everybody energetically, and it's like, wow, even if they're no longer living, it's like I can just feel the glow. So here's another concern. It's way too overwhelming. Yeah, I know Anne, my sister, is on the call. I know you have a dear friend whose family, I was just thinking of this, they couldn't even touch their mom's apartment after she died for 12 years because the family trauma patterns were too overwhelming. those are major undercurrents, major currents. But if we go in baby steps in community and don't focus on digging up old trauma, it can actually be fun, as I think Inga shared, even enriching. And this is what it isn't. This is what it makes it different. It is not family constellation. What we honor that, use some of those tools. Thank you, thank you. It's not internal family systems. It's based on the latest brain scan research to show what works and what doesn't. And we start with this. Normally we're every 2 weeks, but I didn't want to leave you hanging if you decide to join us. So we're doing the Brain Bootcamp for the newbies. And this includes you, Betty, even if you are highly trained and skilled in biodynamic craniosacral. This is a brain boot camp where you can include this, and you can even work with your clients on Zoom, Betty, with this work. We will not be, so this is what makes it different, we will not be endlessly revisiting and recreating family and generational trauma. I hope you got that already. It is unusual, but we will be drawing on the fertile soil and gifts from the family to support the liftoff of your soul. Hope that makes sense to you. And here this is a young man, too many people have come to me struggling, and this was a young man in his he wasn't 90, in the late 1990s. He had done 40 constellations. And he was still struggling, still exhausted, full of worry and anxiety. And that got me waking, my eyes opening, going, there is another way where we don't have to be trapped in the mire and stuck. Okay. And, there were all kinds of reasons why he had a twin background, he had a Jewish background, he had a Holocaust background, he had, all kinds of reasons that were totally valid, and he still didn't need to stay that stuck, not after 40 constellations. So something was missing, yeah. So what was the gap between his multiple traumas and his longing, which was to live in bliss? And in this program, hopefully, we're going to be teaching you how to bridge that gap with your clients and with yourself. And here's the other people's stories. It's because I had a lost twin. That's why I'm suffering. It's my Jewish heritage, whether or it's Muslim, Asian, Black, white, or it's my attachment disorder. It can be overwhelming and heartbreaking when I see people who are stuck in this place, and we don't need to. So it's not about blaming your past. If you do, you will stay stuck. This is why I'm getting fierce again. Okay. It's about taking responsibility, and I know I keep repeating this, but if you decide you want to join us, then just think about these things, so that we know that you're jumping in and on track. It is about taking action, because your relationship with the past can transform, but you have to do the work. Here's a clue about, do we need to heal the family tree? Yeah. So it's not just based on the repetition and theories of decades since Freud and repressed memories. I know I've had a lot of pushback about this, but the memories are held in our imagination network until we reconsolidate them and shift them and bring in more loving, joyful, playful, curious memories in the present, or experiences. So it is based on the latest proven research, what works and what doesn't, and bridges the gap between staying stuck in the ancient trauma patterns and living in the present moment. Some of you are still here. That's amazing. So it is about you engaging with the social brain face to face and increasing neural resonance. And the research shows that the results are 50% better when you engage and share and dialogue. So that's what you're going to be learning. We're going to be engaging and sharing and dialoguing, but from the place of the social brain, okay, not from the impaired brain. So core light magic, it's called. The real magic comes from sharing your deep wisdom, the magic inside you, sharing your insights with others and to be met in that place. Then you're able to hold a stronger frequency for yourself first and your own community through your core essence shining from within. So here's your core essence and your ancestral fertile soil. And some of you have heard me talk about the third wave if you ever came to my earlier presentations on rejuvenating the face. Yep. And I talk about the third wave where, we came from suffering and struggle, and then we got much more sensitive and more gentle working with trauma. And for me, the third wave is this next stage, which is much more playful, curious, working with the natural currents of the brain. And this is an example of what I call the sparkling brain. I talk about going from blueprint to your sparkle print, and this is the thalamus. And I've got a video of it actually rotating, which is just very, to me, very scintillating and exciting. And this is what I want to hold, that we are designed to sparkle. That may sound very much fantasy, but we are designed for that. So why not, once we've cleared the fog layers? And we know that there are so many people struggling with this, of the gap between being pulled back by the confusing undercurrents of past patterns, anxiety, worry, depression, and a longing for that clarity of purpose and to follow the calling of your soul without that drag, that downward or backward drag. And we can help you if you're willing to take the first step with us. And you get to be witnessed if you choose, only if you choose. We're not focusing on family trauma. Do you really have to heal that family tree? We focus on you and uncovering and claiming your soul's purpose, inspired by and drawn from the family traditions, experiences, triumphs, and celebrations. And here's a message from Mark before we end this section. You don't have to do anything to stimulate curiosity and playfulness because it is the natural state of a healthy brain. But you do have to suspend all those old beliefs that whisper you should be doing something serious, not pleasurable. That was me as a child always. Somebody's going to die. I got to be on red alert. You have to keep pulling yourself back into the present moment to connect with your playfulness and curiosity. And if you're struggling, I know how you feel because I've been there. And, our team has been there. So what about you now? As you know, 2 tracks delving into the richness and fertile soil and springboarding into the eternal calling of your soul. So just kind of wrapping this up, learning how the soil of the family patterns and the ancestors and everything they've done to support you nourishes your soul. Yep, and how do you get there? We hope that you're going to join us if you decide, or if not, that you're taking away some tips that will help you look at your life and clients' patterns in a different way. And it is a choice. Yep. It is a choice, and we're standing by to support you if you'd like to join us, or if you want to stay where you are. You may be completely fine, in which case, wonderful. If you're still in that worry space like I was, you may want to choose to join us. The ancestors do not want you to suffer on their behalf. I know that for a fact. They want to support you in thriving. And can we support you in getting there? Are you ready? Help to come not from the imprinted self, but from your sparkle print, not your imprint. And then this is the final slide of asking your intuition for a couple of final questions. And if you need to go before we do the exercise, so ask your intuition a couple of final questions. What are the deepest insights that you're taking away from this masterclass? And how are you going to use those awarenesses that I have shared with you to touch others? and make sure that you write it down. Because if you don't, you'll forget it. I'm going to stop the share for a little bit and see if we have any questions at the moment before we go into, let me see, before we go into the actual, oh, there we go. Still here, I'm so honored. Anybody have any burning questions before we go into the exercise? You want to put your hand up? Laurie, is that Laurie? Yeah, Laurie, welcome. Can I get you spotlighted? Let me see. Where's she gone? I know, Laurie, start speaking and maybe I'll be able to find you, but it should be showing me if your hand is up. Let me see. You should be right at the front.
The question I have is, what's the day and the time that you'll be doing these on?
It's Thursdays at 12 p.m. Pacific.
12 p.m. Pacific until what time on 12?
With ancestral and twin patterns, we don't know, but I allow or tell you to allow 2 hours. We do some exercises and practice stuff.
So I'm in Eastern time, 12 p.m. Is that 3?
At 3 p.m. Yeah, and it's always recorded. And Jackie, to answer your question, the actual core essence exercise is fairly short. And maybe, so did I answer your question, Laurie, for you?
Yeah, so I get done at work at 3:30. Wouldn't be a problem if I showed up at 3:30 then.
Yeah, 8 p.m. in the UK, yes. And
Okay.
Jackie, you saw Anne-Claire, who's our European connection. So that's where the practice sessions happen at a normal time in Europe. Great, Laurie. So I'm glad that will work. Why don't I go to the exercise and then we can ask questions afterwards. And then Jackie, maybe you can stay for. I know it's late for you. Let me see if I can get I'm going to have to find my slides again. Oh, nice to see. I can see Carol here, Patty here, Mariana. All right. So, Carol or Patty or anyone, do you want to share how you're doing, what it's been like for you, or anyone else, while I'm finding my slides? Jessica, I see that you're here. How lovely. Okay.
I'm happy to share a few words.
All right, Carol, lovely to see you.
Yeah, I did the birth dance with you last year.
Yes.
And twins and natural facial rejuvenation.
Oh, yes.
Immersion. And it's hard to put into words like what's different. And I think it's like how I see myself and everyone else. I see my problems and other people's problems through completely different eyes or different heart. That I'm always looking right away for how to make that beautiful transition, like you were just these last pieces that you were putting up on the slides, the lies, that instead of digging in, and feeling the feelings and all, is just ask your intuition for an insight. What's your core essence work? It's amazing the things that emerge from something. It seems simple.
Yeah.
It seems so simple. Like, how could it possibly be that potent? And I'm just here to testify for myself and for my clients, in mostly in biodynamics, but also because I weave some other things in somatic work with Richard Strozzi Heckler, if you know him, up in Petaluma, and Bonnie Bainbridge Cohen's work, Body Mind Centering.
Oh, yes.
Just all these. It's just a way of saying we all have our deck of court cards of different kinds of skills that we bring to people, and so the training that I took with you has made such a profound difference for them and for me. Thank you.
Ah,
And I won't be taking this one, the family tree. I just so intrigued with your childhood chart. I got one of those recently that was from my son when he was in the Waldorf school, and I found his chart that he made, and just thinking about all of those people, and there's really deep information down in one strata only, and then it's really shallow. It doesn't go down very, very deep because people weren't. I think they didn't value family because family was painful.
yes, you said it. They didn't value family. And actually, Jackie asked a great question. How does this fit with everything else I'm doing? It's bringing in an extra perspective that can make shifts faster. And Carol, you're a dancer and a yoga teacher, is that right? So you're very somatic. And to bring in these pieces helps the shifts faster and more gracefully. That's my perspective. And more fun. Yeah.
Absolutely my experience.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah.
Lovely.
Anyway, I'm gonna sign out.
Yes.
And in my Mir Baba world, this is like Easter weekend,
Yes.
the time when we observe his passing away, and big celebrations in India and all of that. So I'm going to leap on to the live stream.
All right. Yeah, so much to
I
celebrate today.
especially just wanted to say to you personally, I wanted to hear your voice. I wanted to see your face. I wanted to say thank you so very much. And just, here I knew that there would be things that I would take in from, just this class. And I will go back. I missed the first half of it because of work, and go back and revisit all of it again. And I know that it will also bring up a lot that will be beneficial for me. So thank you, everybody. Great to see you. Shirley and Claire. Claire, is she still here? Maybe not. And Inga, maybe not. Anyway, love to you all, and take best care.
Wonderful. Thank you for joining us, Carol, and thank you for your presence.
Bye-bye.
All right. Bye. So we're going to go back to our little exercise, which is not so little. And I think for me, and I know our team will have their perspectives too, bringing in this perspective totally lightened up the way I work. Less compassion fatigue, I think. Anyway, so let's do this exercise. So this is finding your core essence, word or phrase. And it seems very, very deceptively simple. So just play along with us. And I want you to be able to take this away. If you don't take anything else away with you, that you take this away from this masterclass. So here we go. So you're going to just settle in, relax, and you're going to ask your intuition, however you do that, to think of a pattern that seems to persistently show up in your life forever. If I were to ask you, when did this pattern start, and you'll roll back, and I'll say roll back in time, and it'll be, people will say, this, when I was born, I was doing this, or this was worrying me. I don't want you to get stuck in it. Just observe it. You're going to know this pattern very well because it's been running you. And then ask your intuition, what did you long for or yearn for to help you get through these persistent patterns? And whatever that was, write that down. And now I'm coming out, coming back. And now what I want you to do is come into the present and let's do 3 yawns and stretches. Because that brings your brain back into balance. And we've been talking about a lot of intellectual stuff and a lot of stories. This is just coming into the present. And remember, if you can't yawn, imagine it or do deep breaths. And let yourself yawn and stretch into tiny little areas in your body that have been stuck from sitting so long. And now I'm coming back to the exercise. And I'm going to ask you again. There's everybody. To tap in. We've done our yawning and stretching together. So to tap in, ask your intuition again to think of a pattern. It may be the same pattern, or it may be another pattern that shows up that's even deeper. Again, don't get stuck in it. Just observe it very deeply, briefly. And ask your intuition again, what did you long for, yearn for, to help you get through these persistent patterns? And write that down. It may be the same, it may be different. Yeah. Write it down because the brain forgets when we're in the present moment. So there's not so many of us now. When there was nearly 100, it would have been a bit different. But if you feel brave enough, share your word or phrase in the chat if it feels okay and you'd like to be witnessed. Or if you're even braver, put your hand up and let us know. And I'll see it if you raise your hand. And Shelley, would you like to read out? So we've got, and what we're doing is we're witnessing and building the container. Oh, hi Deborah, you're here, welcome. And I have a hunch, Deborah, that's a different word or phrase from before.
Mark is to be noticed and appreciated. Jackie to be acknowledged, valued, and supported and seen. Deborah, supportive connection. Susan to be held with safety, support, and unconditional love. Sheila, connection. Stephanie, clarity and brevity. Jessica, love, being included. Isha, clarity. Lori, to be seen. David, being seen, loved, and encouraged. Ella, to be left in peace and to be myself.
Let's pause a sec, Shelley. So I just want you to we're just going to take a pause and savor. And savoring is a really important part of the brain network training. Savoring so that you can let this into your being, everybody's core essence phrases. Letting it just flow in, noticing if any of the words help you tingle or light you up, just so that we're kind of all affecting each other. Really, I'm just really enjoying your core essence phrases. Sometimes it's making me a bit teary, actually. I'm so moved. But thank you, thank you. All right, Shelley, anybody else?
Yes. Lori loved. Carlos, afraid to speak in public.
Thanks for letting us know, Carlos.
And that's the end of that list. I can add mine.
Yeah.
Mine is being a beacon of light and shining upon the truth and into the shadows where the toxic lies are revealed.
And Shelley, how has that helped you in your work, in your life?
It has, it's interesting because it actually has come through, the light has come through in so many different areas. Having a birth memory of my twin brother kicking me in the throat, and I'm thinking, am I going to die? And the light came through, and I was aware that if I keep my eye on the light, I'll know that I'll always be okay. And again, when I was at a crossroads of life changing, going into how do I do this change? And that's when Spirit came through and said, you are a beacon of light. Go forth out into the world. So it's been an anchor. And when I step into it and acknowledge it and be that light shining, allowing my light to shine, it's so powerful. And it allows me to shine on the truths, for myself, my clients, my family. And it's grown with me. It's grown through this training. And I'm so grateful. So
thank you. And I'm watching you holding that for your community. And it is growing. It is
it's
growing.
like,
yes, it's that Shelley place.
Yeah. And just believing in yourself that you are something bigger than what you thought you were. And it's magnificent.
Yeah, and we've watched you with that ignition place. I think that little video is posted in the Core Light Magic at the very bottom. If you're going, oh, and all these light bulbs were happening. Yeah. So I do, and thank you, Shelley. I am aware that for many people, it is not easy to find that place because it got so clouded over, so foggy, so lost in the veils and the mists. So don't beat yourself up if you couldn't find any help when I asked you, what is it you longed for? Sometimes we didn't know or we didn't think it was possible. And that just tells us that there's just a few more layers of fog that we need to work with. But it is inside you. It's in each one of you. And I don't think I've ever worked with anyone that I haven't witnessed their core light. So, yeah. All right. Thank you, Shelley. Anyone else want to share anyone else on our team or in our community to share how you've been using your core light or how it's helped you, your core essence phrase?
I'll just say that Anne Claire and Inga both had to step away. So if anyone else from the community wants to share, that would be great.
Or anyone who has a question about it. It's like, I can't find it. Anyone brave enough? Let me see, that's funny, I can't. So many of you still here. Thank you, thank you. So there's a hand. Benjamin. Hello, Benjamin. Let me see if I can spotlight you. For me, who's non-techie. Let's see, Benjamin. There we go. All right. Welcome, Benjamin.
Thank you. Um, something came to my awareness, and but I don't know if I'm not clear of or if I'm doubting it, but it's like from my childhood, I've seen myself being confident and at sometimes doubtful and needs for external validation or acknowledgement. And then it's like my word of my sentence was okay. Um, s- s- something like uh, being acknowledged, being valued, or being free from that. Because I see that the repeating pattern I experience in my life now is I'm blaming the external world and my community, my peers, to not supporting me, not acknowledging me, not, and it's like and so I don't know if the in the exercise the invitation is to find the new sentence, so that is to recreate uh, with the transformed pattern. Like for me, it may be okay being free from being free from a knowledge, but it's negative. I may turn it. I may turn it not with positive. I'm processing the at the same time I'm talking now, so it may look it may seem confusing. I feel a little bit confusing, but and it's and also I linked with the pattern I have to people pleasing and not being fully myself.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
So something there is something there. I may go deeper,
Yeah,
but yeah.
there's something there. So, part of it is all the layers of confusing needing to be acknowledged and validated, but try on for size because you'll probably go deeper and deeper. Oh, well, here's a clue that whatever it is that you longed for is the gift that you're bringing. It's not just for you, that you are bringing to the world. It's the gift that you have to share with your clients, if you're a practitioner or your community. Um, Mimi's asking, is there more? There is a lot more, but I'm giving you enough for us to kind of play with and start dreaming about, because that core essence, when you check into your core essence, there's, and it's clear, there's an alignment. Yep. And it's like it clicks because it's who you are. And when you're coming from that place, it doesn't matter what's swirling around outside. This is who you are. And that radiates and touches others. Yeah. So Benjamin, if you talked about being free, yeah. So is freedom a value for you? And I'm just curious, it needs to come from your own intuition, not from me, but I'm just reflecting back to you.
Yeah, it's I could be more precise, like free to be myself,
Uh-huh.
free and be my true self.
So as you say that, check in inside what happens inside you. And those of you who are, if you're still here, which you are, notice what happens as Benjamin says that. Free to be this is what I longed for, to be free to be my true self.
And
What?
expressing, I I feel some strength, confidence. I feel yeah, and grounded, something grounding and confident, and it's also from expression, free and ex, true self, freedom and self-expression, and it's also a presence. It's just being. There is no effort, just being.
That's right. That's
Yeah.
right. So just, show of hands, I can't see you, but Shelley will be able to see you. Could you feel Benjamin's presence? Him just being, no effort. Yeah? Could you feel the difference when you kind of dug down, followed your intuition a little bit deeper, Benjamin?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah. Absolutely.
yeah.
And I'm surprised it could be witnessed by others here through.
Can you see the others?
Yeah.
And they're witnessing you? And what happens inside you as you are aware that you're witnessed?
There is a little bit something, little bit shaking. Like I'm not sure. Is it true that I am witnessed? It's not just me. Others also, and there's like maybe self-doubting about it. So maybe there is where the patterns are showing is keep showing up.
Yeah, the patterns want to show up and keep you small. Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you in gallery mode? Can you look? And whoever
Yes.
was touched by Benjamin, who wants to witness when he came into alignment. Yeah. Remember your words, Benjamin? You want to say them again? I'm going to invite you to give him feedback, whatever that looks like, like.
The freedom and freedom and self-expression of the being. Yeah. Now I'm going into my mind. I'm trying to catch to hold to it.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Do another yawn and stretch, because we start to get stuck in.
Yes.
And I saw, what did Shelley say? So you said you saw his being, Shelley? What was that? Do you want to share with Benjamin?
I see and witness your being, Benjamin, and the radiance of who you are, that freedom that you're seeking, that you're yearning. There's a glimmer of that. And I want to acknowledge that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm going to suggest that you just keep exploring. Make sure you do your yawns and stretches and trust what shows up, and just honor those currents that might move in that did not validate you, did not acknowledge you. Yeah. Because that is the gift that you have to share with others. First, it's for you, your own freedom of expression. And then it's holding that place when you get your words that really click. And for a while, you were totally clicked in alignment. Yeah. You are holding that place for others from that effortless place. You used the word effortless. Remember that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Just be a being and radiate, and it's joyful. It's like on your slides,
Yeah.
the playfulness and joyful, and I've just connected that when I expressed this
Yeah.
effortless being,
Yeah.
and it's wow.
It's wow.
Yeah.
Did you get that, group? Did you get that? The wow, that's when we align. It's the wow factor. It's the joy. Because that's who we are unfettered. Yeah. Yeah. And to, go back to Jackie's question, how do I use this with all all your wonderful skills and modalities that you already do, Jackie, that you're already making a huge difference. If we're able to come from this place like Benjamin just got to, the wow, this is who I am. I'm holding that place for you. And for Benjamin, you're going to be attracting people who want to be acknowledged and validated. And you're going to be holding that place for them to be free to express themselves. That resonating with you?
Yes, that's my vision, and that's my vision since long time, many years, and I struggle to really embody and to manifest that in my life. So now it's like, I'm surprised it could be real from now.
Yeah, it's real, isn't it, Shelley? It's real. It's who you are, and thank you for showing us. Yeah, because for that little guy, he had to hide it.
Mm-hmm.
And he wasn't acknowledged and he wasn't validated.
Mm-hmm.
And here you are. Yeah. So it's an honor to witness you sharing this very precious place with us.
So thank you. Okay, awesome.
All right. Well done. Thank you. Okay. Anybody else have anything that they want to share? We do have other. Yeah. What?
Lori has her hand up.
Laurie. Hi there. Let me see if I can spotlight you.
I unmuted. I was wondering, when he was talking, he had an easy flow, and then some questions or something, it sort of stopped, and I was wondering why it stopped. Was that because of self-doubt, or was that the Ants family stuff coming in? Or
Do you want to ask Benjamin directly?
yeah. So, Benjamin, I was enjoying hearing you talk. I was enjoying that flow that you got into that stream, and it had some joy to it, which I want joy in my life, more joy. So I was hearing that from you, and then it kind of went somewhere else. So I was wondering why it went somewhere else or where it went to, and if you can bring that back, that would be awesome.
I'm chuckling.
I'm not sure I'm getting it. So you said that you were present to the flow in my expression, and then at some point, what did you notice that I stopped
Yes.
this flow? Yeah.
Yeah, it stopped.
Yes. I noticed that too. Yes. And what did you say? What is your invitation?
Well, for you to bring that back, to like pull it back out, to say, hey, wait a minute, I'm going to keep going with this because it was pretty cool and awesome.
Okay, yeah. Okay, I got it. Thank you. Okay. Yes. I'm taking I'm taking this invitation. Okay, great. Yes.
All right. Yeah,
Resonates.
so Laurie, that's a great question because we're just beginning with this exercise, yeah? And the fact that Benjamin even got access to it so fast is extraordinary, and that we felt it and that wow factor. So it takes practice to trust it. It takes practice not to be knocked out by the next current. And that's why, it's a 12 module program so that we get to practice, so that it becomes really solid inside. And, look at Shelley, look at me this week has been terrible technology issues, leaks in my plumbing, freezing, air conditioning not working, etc. But when I tap into here, and it was like, I can't teach, I can't offer this class, I've got too much stuff going. Tap back into my core essence and go, I have to, I'm being called to do this. Yeah. So Benjamin, I'm very, very touched and impressed that you're willing to share this. Love this. Want to see more of what you're sharing and how you're going to be touching others as you keep claiming your own gifts. And Laurie, thanks for calling it out. Want to see yours too. Yeah, because you get a sense when somebody's on and when they're losing it. So you've got that intuitive sense. All right. Okay, I'm going to show you one final slide to give you kind of consolidate this, and I'm going to let you go because we've been going a long time. And I really appreciate you hanging in. Let me see. Here's my slide. And Mimi, yes, that there is more to this, but not today. I don't want to keep everyone so long. So we're talking about the tracks here. So I hope you can see this. So this basically is when we recall trauma, from your current emotional state, it changes the contents of the memory of the trauma. Okay, this is key. It's kind of in a nutshell, but we spend time looking at it in different ways. There's all kinds of adventures we go on and spiritual drawing exercises and practice. But coming from the present with your awareness of being aware, it changes the memory traces. Okay, it disrupts memory reconsolidation, and that means every time we recreate old trauma or revisit old trauma, we are, the only way I can describe it is we're digging those trauma grooves deeper and deeper and deeper. And the research shows it. So when we honor that, because we all know that trauma, we're not in denial, we're honoring it, and we're shifting to the present moment, our core values, our core essence, like Benjamin just did, and come from that place of effortless, the brain gets the truth in the present moment. Okay, I'm going to stop the share. So the present moment is what's true. It's not the old trauma patterns. I hope that makes sense to you. I don't know how else to describe it except for getting really fierce again. And when we keep doing things and choosing our joy, that can transform old trauma patterns. It sounds really simple. It's very joyful to do, just like Benjamin was saying when he got in touch with his core essence. And it does take practice. Okay, so I just want to thank you all for coming. I'm just very touched that this issue, there's Jackie, coming into the sensation of the truth and essence, coming back to our core. Yep, working with the somatics. Yep. So thank you, because this topic I thought nobody was that interested in, especially 20 years ago they weren't, but there's been such interest. So I invite you to join us. And thank you, Stephanie. Thank you, all of you. Just really, really excited to share this with you. And let me have one final look at you. So, and looking forward to seeing whoever feels called next, what is it? Next Thursday already. We're doing the Brain Bootcamp. Then we'll start with Core Light Magic the following week, because I do have a lot of very patient students already waiting. And then it'll be every 2 weeks to give you a chance to practice. Maybe we can prevail on Anne-Claire, as I said, to do the European group if you're in Europe. And we'll be helping you practice here in America or wherever else you are. And as I say, we've got Inga in New Zealand, we've got Karen in Australia, Shelley is in Colorado, Anne-Claire in France. Who else? And Nancy in Montreal. So we've got a big range. Okay, anyone have a last thought? Any of our current students, anyone have a last thought or insight? If you do, give a yawn and stretch, write it in the chat, or if you're brave enough, pop up and let us know what your insights are. Marika, I see you yawning. good yawns. Jackie, you're still here, even though it's really late in England, huh?
Well, and I'm just sitting here with the call that we were last on together where you were percolating this, and it was an intro call, and yeah, and you were saying, this is radical, it turns everything on its head. Um, and the time wasn't right for me because I was totally embedded in other studies and whatever. Yeah, so I just want to, well done for following your core essence and your faith and bringing this in. Because, it turns it upside down.
It does.
So I need to go away and, continue to percolate because I'm resonating with so much already. And I'm seeing that there are bits of this that I'm already working with just because I've found them.
Great.
So, I need to understand whether it's worth diving into this training when I'm already committed to trainings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Jackie, I remember your twin sister went to the college that I used to teach at in England, International College. Is that right?
Yes.
Your twin sister is an acupuncturist.
She was. She is
Right.
no more. She's an SE practitioner. She's the UK person here. So that's the line that she followed.
Wow.
So it's very interesting how we've both ended up in trauma work.
Yes.
But she doesn't recognize the triplet.
Okay, I remember you told me about the triplet. And also, Jackie, where that wedding photo was very near where you grew up in Honiton.
I know, Honiton, yes, because we've had that conversation.
Are we twinning or what, everybody? So, Jackie, just think about that. There are tons of trainings. Are they working with the latest brain scan research? And this is going to simplify and uplift everything else you're doing because you are already, I know many of you here are super skilled. You've got tons of great modalities. I do too. Shelley does, most of our team have, and actually our current students. And for me, this one lightened up. It shifted, as you know, the whole way. It turned everything upside down. So you're not going to stop doing your wonderful somatic work with babies. You're not going to stop anything. It's just going to change the outcomes. That sounds like an awfully big promise, isn't it, Shelley? But it's going to change the outcomes in a way that's delightful. It's delightful. Jackie is already, can you tell Jackie's wood energy? She's already a truth teller. She's already an activist. Can you tell that?
Oh, yes. You don't want to check out my Facebook page. I'm all over it.
I love it. I love it. So that's the wood energy that we've all got a lot to learn from you, Jackie, because I'm not so wood, but I've had to learn because of this. And it is the year of the wood. So yeah, it'd be lovely to have you if you decide that you're called for it. And please say hi to your sister.
I will. Thank you.
All right. Take care. All right.
Can I read out Patty's remark saying from trauma informed to core light informed? Patty.
Thank you, Marika. Yeah, I think that, my decades of being trauma informed got a little old. And I'm not putting anyone down. It was just such a relief to look at the science and go, that's why I was still stuck. And going to core light and following the brain's natural state really did. Yeah, core light informed. Thank you, Patty. That's lovely. And Patty, you are another super skilled practitioner, teacher that's been with us for a while. Yeah. Benjamin is a wooden buffalo. Okay. I'm a snake. All right. Yeah. So I think we're going to have fun if you decide you want to join us. It's going to be a lot of fun. So remember to, as we close out, to do some yawns and stretches and just drop in really, really deep and ask for some insights. And it may be completely different insights, as I said, from what I want you to take away with, but I completely trust that that's what your brain, your system needs to take away. So When you get your insights, write them down. Kind of savor them, savor those core essence words. And if you want more help and support, we're here for you, and we're ready to play with you, have fun, and honor the trauma at the same time without getting lost in it. Okay? All right, everybody. Take care. Love you all. It's been really fun. I've really, really enjoyed this. And Benjamin, thank you so much for sharing and being brave enough. That was great. Bye.